Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for February 6th, 2025. Well, hey everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I hope everything is starting off like you would like to see and had a great restful afternoon, because we have another very busy day here in the market. Yesterday's earnings or last evening's earnings, particularly in the semiconductor area, were not all that great. Experiencing maybe just a little uncertainty here this morning in the futures markets. We'll get to that in just a second. First off, how about we take a look at what we've got going on or what happened overnight. Asian markets mostly higher last night. Did a really good job. Australia was up 1.23%. Nikkei was up 0.16. India was the only one that was experiencing a little bit of bearishness. South Korea was up. Hong Kong was up 1.43 and Shanghai up 1.27, as the entire world is just trying to shake off any concern about tariffs, yet they're still right there on the edge of everyone's thought process and could easily be right back into some worrisome situations here soon. If we take a look at European markets, bullish across the board this morning. We've got the DAX up 0.73%, FTSE's up 1.17%, and the CAC is up 0.70%. But if we take a look at those U.S. futures this morning, they're just pretty flat. They bounced around between green and red here this morning. Right now, the Dow futures at this very second is dead flat at 0. Now it's down 1 point. S&P 500 futures up $1.75, and the NASDAQ futures down $34.75. So just a little bit of uncertainty here and kind of flip-flopping as we go into this next round of earnings this morning, which is a pretty sizable number of earnings reports. Let's take a look at what we've got going on in oil. Oil this morning is, well, as you can see, the producers have been pushing up, even as oil has been a little bit on that bearish side, pushing down. But this morning we've got oil pushing back higher. Right now oil is up 0.40, 40 cents at 71.42 a barrel. And one of the reasons we might be seeing a little bit of fluctuation in here, if you look right in here, we've got the dollar going up today, so changing some direction in here. So a little bit of fluctuation going on in some of these commodity prices this morning. Brent crude, as you can see, is at 75.08 a barrel, just up slightly. And natural gas had a good day yesterday after starting lower, pushing up, but with that dollar strengthening a little bit, it's showing a little bit of softness here, only up about half a cent. Right now, if we take a look at precious metals, well, the same thing is true here with the dollar rising. That's causing a little bit of a issue here for precious metals after a zooming move in gold yesterday. Let's get gold up here. GLD, big gap up, new record highs in gold. Right now, we've got gold futures down $4.70 an ounce. We take a look at silver. Silver's also slightly lower here at the moment, with silver futures down 45 cents at 32.52 an ounce. And then gold is still, even with this pullback, $2,888 an ounce this morning. Copper. We've got copper this morning just ever so slightly higher, trying to push up and get a 4-day run here to the upside. Maybe if we can break out of this downtrend and we continue to see the dollar weaken up, we can start seeing copper maybe come back around. Platinum and palladium are both lower this morning. Taking a look at the cryptos, well, they've had some rough volatility here just lately, but this morning Bitcoin is feeling pretty bullish, up $1,480 a coin, and Ether is up $40 a coin, and mostly green across those cryptos this morning as that dollar weakens, as you might expect. If we take a look at bonds here this morning, bonds are moving just a little bit higher. Nothing major, but pushing back up. The 2-year bonds at 4.21%, the 10 years 4.43%, and the 30-year 4.64%. And it may be just an acknowledgement, a little bit of worry about what we have going on in the economic calendar for today. So what does all that mean? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again. Thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. You know, a couple things I wanted to bring up because I get questions on this all the time. It does take quite a bit of time to put all this stuff together in the morning, and of course I write a blog as well, as you guys know. And when I do these videos, it is one straight shot. There is no editing because I really don't have time in the morning. So sometimes you might hear something in the background. You might hear me choke on my own words or something like that. Just know that I have to do this in one take because there really isn't time in the morning for me to get everything done I need to get done, prepare all of the posts that I need to do, and get them out. So bear with me on that. Let's take a look at the index charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. And remember, we want to shake off that bias as we take a look at these charts. And make sure that we're looking at all the possibilities here. And I got to tell you, yesterday was really kind of amazing to me. On relatively low volume in the market, we surged in the Dow, really pushing this back up. So we are now approaching some resistance here in the chart, and of course that potential all-time high is right there. Now I think it would seem kind of remarkable if we work this hard to shake off all worries about some bad earnings reports, all worries about some of these economic numbers not being so great, all the worries about tariffs. We shake off all of that, and then we fail to make a new record high. So I would put my odds on the fact that we're going to push through no matter what happens here, and we're going to get a new record high in the Dow. We'll see what happens after that, but right now it seems to be a full-on press to make that happen no matter what we have in data in the market. So watch that closely. Now, if the bears were to get going, we created a nice little support area here after breaking through this area yesterday. So if those bears were to push back, we might find some support there. Breaking back down below there would obviously raise a little bit more concern, but we've got some good support as we come back down here in the diamonds. If we take a look at our SPY, SPY also had a really good day. We pushed up here, but we smacked into this resistance and kind of stopped right there. We are trying to pop around here this morning, trying to get some early buying in here to get things going. But you want to notice we do have that downtrending area here in the chart that we'll want to be paying attention to. And we're really going to have to do something, get some kind of good inspiration to break through that black candle there. So watch carefully here. If we can break on through that resistance, then I'm going to suggest we would push to test the high of that candle. And if we can break through there, well, hey, then we're back up here trying to make all-time highs in the SPY. However, if those bears were to find some reason to react negatively here today with this downtrend and that resistance right here, we could literally put in another lower high in the market, pushing this back down into this area. And that might raise some concerns as we start moving through. I think if we broke this area of price support here, would probably raise some fear in the market market as well. So watch that closely. Our QQQ, well, QQQ pushed hard here yesterday, pushing through this little downtrend here in the chart and pushed right up into this resistance and kind of stalled out there, which was a pretty big move here on the Qs. And considering the fact that a lot of those semiconductor reports that came in yesterday were not all that great, and we're not seeing greatness in these earnings at all. We're seeing massive spending, but not all that much greatness here in those earnings reports. But we don't seem to care about these valuations right now. It's just, I want to buy tech, and so we're pushing them up. So testing this resistance in the chart here, if we can get some bullish action here today, then pushing through, we got a little gap in there that we could fill, and then beyond that, we'll be pushing up here to test this resistance high in the chart. I think there's every reason to believe that's possible. If the bears were to find any reason to push back here today, well, maybe a little bit of price support on that candle high right here. We might catch something in there and catch this trend as a little bit of a support. But if we were to break back down below yesterday's low, I think that might raise a little bit of concern and possibly creating, again, that lower high here in the QQQ. So watch that carefully. And IWM in here had a really good day yesterday, surging up. Now, the surge up is one thing that is awesome to see, but remember, when we break a support and then we push back through in the rally, remember, this is not an upside trend. The trend doesn't begin until we create some kind of higher low. So we need a little rest in here, a little consolidation in that pattern, and that would probably convince me, if I got a little bullish sign in there, to press into IWM. So watch that carefully here. If the bulls can hang on to this recovered support, then I would keep a close eye on that for a possibility here. Remember, IWM is way behind the other indexes, and we're really going to need to see some selling and some rotation out of some of these high flyers to get this going. So watch that carefully. So if those bulls can continue to push here today, we might push right through this area of resistance that I've got here in that chart and push right through and up into here. And then I still need to see that resting pullback here for me to jump in on that trade. I need some proof that we can hold a support level, not just whipsaw back and forth. So keep an eye on that. If the bears, however, were to find some inspiration and push this back down, what I'd want to see is that we'd hold this area of price support. We may have to bounce around in there a little bit, but then I'd be looking for that next opportunity to enter that trade. If we take a look at our VIX here this morning, our VIX did pull back nicely yesterday and really kind of surged at the end of the day, dropping us back down in here, suggesting we don't have any fear. I don't think that's really true. Looking at the volatility, the wide bid-ask spreads here in the chart, or in the options change, I think there's still some fear and uncertainty there. But we're putting on a show here that we don't care about tariffs, and we don't care about much of anything. But watch that closely right in this area. If we were to find some reason to care here today and those bears get something going, pushing up off of this, we've got this little upside trend that we could still hold on to. Now, of course, if we find that bullishness and we can push on through and break this back down into this area, well, there you go. We've completely broke those trends. We'll be seeing whether or not we can hold on to this area of price support, but that changes an awful lot in this chart. If we take a look at our T2122, our T2122 indicator, well, we've got a situation here where we hooked over yesterday. What this means is, of the New York Stock Exchange, of all the stocks in the New York Stock Exchange, they were about even yesterday. Just a little slight bullish lean there to the upside for the stocks making new 4-week highs and new 4-week lows. They were pretty much even here in the move. Now, oftentimes when you see this hockey stick like this in the air, kind of like over here, we get a hockey stick up here in the air, we tend to see a little bit of follow through to the downside. But with the enthusiasm that we have in this market and this remarkable bullishness, despite the data that we're getting, I have no reason to believe that we couldn't stretch this right on higher and push this right up into here, into that bearish reversal zone. So watch carefully for that possibility if we can find some bullish inspiration here on the day. If the bears were to come up with any inspiration, well, we have opened up a very big opportunity here for a push back down. And it doesn't mean we go all the way back down and break lows or really even turn bearish. It just means we might need a little bit of pullback or a little bit of rest from the wild bullish buying that we've been seeing here in the market. If we take a look at our T2108, this was some good news yesterday. T2108 responded really well yesterday, pushing up, and we had slipped just below the 50% there heading into the close, but that surge right at the end of the day pushed us right back up here. So we just peeked our nose out here above 50%. So we've got about just half of our stocks above their 40-day moving average. Of all the stocks in the New York Stock Exchange, just half right now are above their 40-day moving average. So that's bullish. If we can continue to push that up, that would continue to raise that bullish sentiment here in the market. You will want to notice we've got this trend up in here. We might be pushing up into some resistance there, but watch that carefully. Now, if the bears were to have something to say here today, well, start looking for some of these support levels down in here. We'll just be watching that stuff if the bears were to get going. Our T2107 turned up a little bit. It didn't get the enthusiasm that the rest of the market was getting in here. Again, we only had about half the stocks really moving to the upside. And if you look in here, we're just below 50%, 48% of the stocks holding above their 200-day moving average. So bulls can get that going and be up here around 50% pretty easily. If the bears were to get something going, well, we've got some pretty good support right down in here. So no particular worries there. What did bother me yesterday is as we were rallying so strongly, take a look at breadth of the market. Breadth actually fell to a new low yesterday, new low from recent low here, as there was no breadth following that move yesterday, which makes me very suspicious, and it makes me worry about the potential pretty substantial price whipsaws. So be prepared for that possibility if we cannot get some breadth to follow through. And normally during this period in the earnings calendar, there's enough companies that have come out from underneath their blackout period that we start seeing that breadth come up here. And not seeing that makes me wonder if the rally that we're seeing here in the market has been seeded by the institutions to push it higher. But as retail chases to the upside, I'm beginning to wonder if we're not seeing that rotation where institutions are actually selling to retail, reducing their positions. So be really careful here. Breadth is definitely not following that bullish run to the upside that we've seen since Monday. Watch that closely. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got a few things to be thinking about here this morning. We're going to get the Challenger job cut report here this morning. We're going to be here for that jobless claims number. They're looking for a little increase on that jobless claims number. And if we take a look, we've got a productivity and cost number. They're expecting productivity to decline from a 2.2 to 1.8. And unfortunately, they're looking for the labor cost to go up from a 0.8 to 3.3. That's inflationary to see that. So we'll want to watch that pretty closely. Those aren't good numbers. We've got a natural gas report in here to be paying attention to, some bond auctions, and then some Fed speak here and a Fed balance sheet. Remember, as you plan forward in the Friday, one of the most important reports of the week will be right here, that employment situation number, 8:30 tomorrow morning. That'll be followed up with some Fed speak and some consumer sentiment, wholesale inventories, Baker Hughes, and a consumer credit report at the end of the day. So watch watch that carefully here as we progress into Friday. And then taking a look at our earnings calendar here for today, well, guys, we got a really busy earnings calendar, and there's no way I can cover them all here for today. So make sure you know how to click that link just below the title of the video to take you back to the morning blog if you want that list. I'll cover just a few of them here. We're going to hear from WMS this morning. We've got MT reporting. We're going to hear from BDX here today. BMY is on the list. We're going to get Conoco reporting. We've got Eli Lilly reporting. EQX reporting in here today. We're going to get a report from Kellanova. We've got Honeywell in here. So quite a few reports this morning that you'll want to be paying attention to as we progress through the morning. So a little bit of back and forth in those as well this morning. This afternoon is equally as busy, with the most notable here this afternoon is going to be Amazon. So probably a lot of energy pent up on what Amazon will do in its report today. So watch carefully for that. And we've got some others that are going to be pretty interesting to pay attention to, like TTWO will be reporting in there. Boyd will be in there. ELF is in there. Skechers is in there for this afternoon. So we've got quite a few reports here this afternoon as well to be paying attention to. So with that, how about we take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me this quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, do me that favor. Click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. I know it gets monotonous to do this every day. Believe me, every time I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to try and make the donuts, that's why the old donut commercial, it's time to make the donuts, to get the blog and the video put out, I think, another day. But I do this because it's as important for me as anyone else. And it helps me set my mind for the day, at least for the morning open, of how I want to approach the market. So I hope you guys are finding this to be useful. I try to avoid any kind of hype. I try to avoid any kind of prediction in the market. It's all about the price action of the charts. And I'm just so humbled that so many people find this to be useful. So thank you very much, everyone. It does mean a lot to me. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up. And remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Do your own due diligence and be very careful in this market. The volatility is still present, and we still have these big uncertainties out there that we have to deal with. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look. I placed an alert here on Mickey D's yesterday. Something might be happening here in Mickey D's. Breaking that downtrend, you can see, you might call this a couple different things. This to me starts to look like a little bit of inverted head and shoulders pattern, but there's a lot of folks in here that might see this as well. That's a cup and that's a handle pattern, and either one of them are bullish potential patterns, and I'm watching that trying to come around. Also, this is just dealing with that 50-day moving average, trying to push through in there. You will want to keep in mind, however, and this might mess everything up completely, as we've got an earnings report coming up next week on Mickey D's. So watch that carefully in here. It may be a little bit tough to trade because of that. Take a look at VALE. One of the things that has been looking really good is miners. VALE. This is a beautiful potential pattern in here, and that's coming up through that 50-day. A nice little round of bottom breakout in that chart and looking really good, as well as a Newmont looking really good, continuing to push through to the upside. Nothing wrong with that chart. Really looking bullish, and every reason to believe that could push on through. And you can just look through a lot of the miners, like Barrick Gold, making that push here to the upside. KGC has been unbelievably strong, pushing up through here. So a lot of those gold miners looking very, very good with that run in gold. Speaking of commodities, we do want to take the time to pay attention to some of the things like PHYS. Now, PHYS is physical gold ETF, and although we're really stretched here, I wouldn't want to chase this. A little rest or pullback though, just like we did here. We stretched up here, broke through resistance, and rested for a little bit. Wait for a little bit of rest in here. If it can hold above these highs, if you don't want to trade GLD, it's actually cheaper to actually trade physical gold here with this ETF. So watch that carefully here in PHYS, and you can also take a look at PSLV. PSLV is a silver trust here as well, and you can see breaking through this resistance up here. That's a pretty good sign. If we can continue to hold up here in that area, I would be watching carefully for that little rest or consolidation in here. Look for that next opportunity for PSLV to move on higher. And then of course I've got to continue to mention, if we see the dollar continue to fall, and it very well could if those bond yields start coming back, keep a close eye here on some of these hard asset commodities like soybean, corn, anything in that area. And if you want a basket of those hard asset grains, take a look at DBA. That's been moving up here, trying to push through some resistance in the chart. I'd have to probably put a new trend up in here if that pops on through. So watch that carefully here on some of these commodities as the dollar starts to show that, well, lower high and topping pattern in the US dollar right there. We're just a little lower high. If we were to break back up through here, that's going to be a problem for us. But and we've got this little wedging pattern in here. But if we wind around in here and resolve to the downside, watch those commodities to move pretty strongly higher. Let's take a look at a few other places here in the market showing some pretty nice patterns overall. Take a look at Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble, nice little resting pattern in here. This is in that consumer defensive sector, and it's one of the things, if we start to get some uncertainty in the market, look for some of these consumer defensive sector stocks to perk back up. And we've got this nice little pattern in here on Procter & Gamble. Watch that closely. Now, when you take a look at our moving averages here, we're just pushing right up through the 50 and the 200. We're struggling in here, but if that pops through, there may be some nice upside there in Procter. Take a look at Coke. Now, Coke's still struggling in here, trying to get this pushed back through some resistance, but Coke has been making those moves. And here again, another defensive sector stock, maybe starting to turn around. And I'm also seeing some more safety plays here in utilities. Utilities trying to come around here. And remember, these are very interest sensitive. And with those bond yields pulling back here just a little bit, we're starting to see some utilities come back up. So keep an eye on some of these. All you got to do is drop into this sector, and you're going to find some stocks that are looking pretty good, coming up out of bottoms, trying to move through in bullish patterns. Worth paying attention to some of those stocks here in that sector. Other places here in the market, take a look at, what was I going to... I'm having a senior moment here. The airlines, there we go. Airlines, they continue to hold up really, really strong. UAL hanging in there, looking good. I think there is every reason to believe that could push on through. I do think it's interesting that our airlines are showing such strength and our cruise lines are showing such strength here in the market. Cruise lines are just really strong and setting up beautiful patterns here. RCL, CCL, NCLH, all looking pretty good in bullish patterns, but at the same time, we've got things like Expedia, those travel things, not looking so good here and possibly setting up some short patterns. So watch that closely. Last but not least, because I'm running this long, I'd keep an eye on this AT&T. AT&T, strong dividend pair. Again, it's not in the defensive sector. It's obviously in the telecom sector, but it is one of those good, strong dividend pairs that if the market gets a little bit squirrely here and a little bit uncertain, we look for some of these high dividend pairs for rotations in the market, and AT&T is looking pretty good here, so I'd keep a close eye on that. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening, putting up with me for 30 minutes. You guys are awesome. Take care, be safe, have a wonderful day, and I wish you all the very, very best.